Sorry about that, guys. My battery went dead. So what I was doing when the battery went dead was I was putting a little solder on one of the legs here. And now, well, let me get the magnifier down here so I can see what the hell I'm doing. I mean, even if my eyes were good, this would be a pain in the ass. I haven't got a clip small enough to put on here, so I gotta solder them. There. Now let me put a little solder on this. Okay. Now I just want to make sure that the one that I think is the one I think is the one that I think. Does that make sense to you guys? So, this is them here, and this one tells me that this is the out. So if I flip it this way, this side is out, that side is in. So I was right. Okay. So the part coming in from the power supply, which would be this end, the part that comes off the board, this piece here, I took it off the connector there because it's part of the board, and that's going to go, if I switch my hands here real quick, on the input. This is the voltage coming in to that leg right there. There. Now I just may put a little hot glue on these just to hold them once I'm done and I know everything is working, because I don't want them to come on loose when it's got voltage in it, because then the next thing you know, this is going to be a live wire flopping around there someplace, and we can't have that. Now I also need a pair of snippers. Okay. Should have thought about that. And I'm going to snip that little wire right there, and we're going to put some solder on that as well. If I can get it up here enough so I can show you guys what the hell I'm doing. And if I can't, I apologize, because I'm going to do it over here. And if you can see it, good for you. If you can't, well, sorry. And if you don't care, it doesn't make a difference. Now if I was doing a lot, for instance, if this works, and I'm going to end up doing this to a lot of these, I have 8 of these. If this works, I got to do 8 of these. I will change the tip out to a smaller tip, because this is the ground I'm hooking up, which is the center. Because I wouldn't want to keep doing this with this larger tip and take a chance of screwing things up. Okay, so we're coming in off the power, we're going to here. Now this, I got to cut this piece off here, and I need it just long enough to go over here to this little piece here. So I don't need a lot of here, I just need enough to get me over there. So, right here to there. Okay. So let's take a little bit of casing off of that wire. Come on, be nice. Someday I should order more strippers. I go through them quite a bit. I haven't bought any strippers since I've been in this house. Wire strippers, guys, wire strippers. I used to work at a strip club. I was a bouncer. And let me see, that was And when the hell was it? 1996 maybe? It was one of the largest strip clubs around here. It was called the Gold Zone. And I also worked for the Cat Club. There. But I worked at the Gold Zone, the strip club, for a long time. And it was interesting. It was actually a Thai type club. You had to have a tie and a sports jacket to get in. So it wasn't a real rowdy place. Now we got to go from here to over here. Is where I took this wire off. I took this black wire, which is the power input, right here, off of that tab, brought it over to here, because this is the input to this here. So this takes the 10 volt input. It'll take up the 12 volt input, and then the ground just taps off to the ground, and the ground. So you leave all the grounds alone, you just add to it. And then this one is your output. So this has to go back to where this one normally went, which is over there. But, oh yeah, I worked at the strip club for some time. Oh, I gotta put a wire on it first. Now, because it's going to be a hot lead, I like to keep my leads matched as much as possible. It's just my way. Red to red, red being hot, black being ground. I will use a green for ground occasionally if I have to, if I haven't got anything else laying around, because green is used as a common sometimes in your 110. Not so much a common, but you know what I mean. A neutral, a common, whatever. It's a ground. So, okay, so we don't want the ground to match or to catch onto that. So let's move this over here for now. Now sometimes too, by working with the wrong size solder tip and not using flux paste, which I should be using flux paste, it's not like I haven't got it here, you got to pay attention to cold solder joints as well, because you're acting a lot quicker because everything is a lot smaller. So therefore you got to kind of watch out for cold solder, because cold solder is just going to be there and not work at all, or it'll work and then it'll stop working. When the system gets hot or cold, the heat up and down will cause the piece to stop working because it loses its connection. So it's good to use a flux, or at least at that point be able to get it real hot if you're not. And when you're talking little stuff like this, you don't want to get it real hot because you don't want to melt everything that's there. All right. So that's what we have so far. So we have the power coming in from the charger. This is just basically a stand with a little charging circuit built into it, but it basically works off of this. So that comes in to here, which brings me to here, which normally went from here to there. I wanted to drop the voltage, so I had to go through this. This is the input, so I took it from there and put it over to here. This is the output over here, so the output goes from there back to where I took it from before, and the ground naturally just being tied into ground. So that's what we have. Now, if this works, I will put a piece of tape underneath this, because if these get pushed down, I don't want to short out against the board. And then I'll probably put some hot glue on these things just to make sure that these wires don't get knocked off by accident. But I won't do that until I know for sure that it's going to work, and it's going to work for a few minutes, and not just for, you know, a test plug in. Oh, it works, and unplug. And if that's the case, this is mine. I'll leave this one in here just in case, you know, that in case I have to use it. And why do I have doubt? Well, here's the thing. This is made, well, I don't remember, but I think it's made for 12 volt in, 12 to 13 in. I'm only pushing 10 into it. So at that point, I don't know if this charging system is going to interfere with that or not. So I may not get a full 8 out of this. So if that's the case, I have to see at least 8. I'd like to see the 8.4, but I want to see the 8. Now if I don't, then I'll have to go to this one, because this one is veritable. So I can turn this one up or down to match. And I don't want to remove the little charging unit, but that gives it a nice dirty ripple, which makes it charge up. That's just an easy way of saying it. You know, I don't like to get real technical. I like to talk in ways that people that may not know what I'm talking about would understand it. I mean, I'm not that I'm calling them dummies, but if you don't understand what I'm talking about, you know, I mean, it's like me talking to you in a language you don't understand. What the hell am I talking about? So I try to keep things simple when I'm doing anything. And then I get all these pros that want to prove a point that tell me, you know, well, wait a minute, you know, and then they start talking theory, you know, because they've never had any experience apparently in dealing with things that don't. So you go to a doctor, and the doctor starts using all these long terms as what you have. Doc, stop. You're not impressing me, you're confusing me. And that's what I tell them. Talk to me in English. Now sometimes when you're talking to a Japanese or a Chinese doctor, you gotta watch what you say. But you know what I mean. You know, and it's the same thing. So if I started explaining to you everything that was going on here and how it was working, and you don't understand it, then why am I explaining it to you? Because I'm just confusing you. Yeah? Same with firearms. I can make it confusing and you'll never pass the test, or I can make it so that you understand in the language that you understand in, the way that you understand it. Now, I'm not the best instructor in the world, but I've been doing it for a long time, so I kind of have a pretty good idea. And I've never, and not just taught firearms, I've taught a lot of things at this point. All right, meanwhile, I'm going to go finish my coffee, and I'm going to let this sit here. I'm going to plug it in, and I'll be back.